Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nancy Newton and I'm the Marketing Manager for Public Safety, and I'm joined by Kelsey McCarty. She's a Solutions Consultant with TCP Software. We have both been working with the Aladtec scheduling system for many years, and we are happy to join you today to show you what it can do for you. So just so you know, TCP does offer free Aladtec trials, so you can certainly try it out for yourself with nothing to lose. Everything we go through is just going to be kind of a nice overview of everything in the system. We also offer customized trials. Those are also free. That's just where people like Kelsey would import your roster and create schedules with your own people, so that way when you're actually trialing it, you can see what it really looks like for your own department. And again, there's no charge for those. So to get started today, we're just, like I said, Kelsey actually is going to walk you through kind of just the basics of the system, which include like the member database, scheduling views. There's lots of different views to look at the schedules, narrowing them down, filtering. We've got customizable forms. So if there's a lot of forms that you do in your department, these can actually be created in the system, and people can either do them on their phone or take a tablet, wherever they need to take care of the form, and I'll get stored right in there. And then of course we have reports, several different reports that we can take you through as well for your scheduled time, for the forms itself. You can report on those as well, payroll, things like that. So we'll go through all of that, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them anytime. You don't need to wait till the end. I'm actually going to be looking through the questions myself, so as Kelsey takes us through with you, and I will answer them, or I'll even check in with Kelsey if I feel like it's something that might be good for everybody to hear about. So and then just so you know, the webinar is being recorded, and we will email you a copy afterwards. It may go out today or tomorrow, but feel free to share it with anybody that you find might be beneficial for them to listen to it as well. So we'll get started here, and I'm going to hand it over to Kelsey, and she will take you through the demo. There you go, Kelsey.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Nancy. We're going to switch screens here on you guys, and we're going to go ahead and pull up our test system for today. So you should be seeing my screen now. As we kind of navigate through the system today, I'm going to be taking you through a high-level overview. As Nancy mentioned, do keep in the back of your mind that we do have the opportunity here to have both generic demos where you can see mocked up members with fake systems to test drive yourselves. And then solutions consultants like myself actually work with customers to build custom demos as well. So if you're really curious about Aladtec and you want to see what that really looks like for your specific department, that's something that we can work with you on and build you out a custom so that you can see what that's really going to be like in real life scenarios with your own people. So as we kind of start to go through this system here, there's a couple of things I want to draw attention to right off of the bat. So for one, you should be able to see here that we are in a Chrome web browser window right now. So we are accessing a site URL that would be specific to the department site that you're looking at. So Aladtec is 100% cloud-based. Any device with internet access and browser capability is going to be able to get into this system. That is supported by all major browsers. And there is a mobile-friendly view of this as well. So there is no native application that staff needs to download. But if you access your site URL, you're going to be able to launch the system on cell phones and tablets in an optimized touchscreen friendly view. The benefit here is your members don't have to download or maintain anything on their personal devices. They can add a shortcut link and launch the browser right from that shortcut link. Most of our members do tell us that that's where they tend to live. So that mobile friendly version is a very big thing for our customer base. Most of today is going to be spent looking inside of more of the desktop view. So when we do navigate into the Aladtec system, you guys are going to note that we land on a homepage here that is fully customizable. So there is a homepage editor out here for those that have access to it that's going to allow you to customize this space. You'll be able to do things like add text, add tables, add photos or hyperlinks. It's going to feel very similar to modifying a Microsoft Word document to make it a very easy and familiar experience to customize this homepage. You can even get really creative. If you've got people that are up on HTML coding, they could do a number of different things in this area. Could be schedules, general information, a whiteboard area, the joke of the day, whatever really makes the most sense for you and your department. You can utilize this space as you see fit. The key area that we do like to draw attention to on this page is what we call the dashboard. So this is a person-specific area of the system. So depending upon who is logged in, you're going to see different information here. So for example, if I use my Aladtec login to emulate a member here, when they access the system, they're going to see a dashboard that's more suited to what's appropriate for them. So for example, they can see things like summaries of their own upcoming shifts, if they have certifications or licenses that are expired or expiring soon, if there's events on calendars that they're a part of, if anybody's put out a trade that they could pick up, or if you're utilizing the discussions area of the system, if there's any new thread posts that haven't been read. If I switch back over to an admin level view, you're going to see that list of options in your dashboard expands. And this is what would happen for anybody who is a top level administrator, meaning that completely unrestricted person in Aladtec, or anyone who's been granted what we call scheduling authority. That's going to be those people that have the ability to change your schedule and help process some of these change requests that are coming from your members. So there's a number of different options in terms of change requests, and you're going to have the ability to not only define the access that people have, so whether they're making those schedule changes or what are they viewing and editing throughout the system, you're also going to have the ability to define which of these actions your members get to do. So are you allowing them to take certain actions in the system, and what rules go with these things? You're also going to have the ability to define if an admin needs to have eyes on these things. So you can toggle off and on admin approval on some of these items. Under these change requests, you will see items that do require admin approval populate in one centralized area. So in Aladtec, we have the ability to process what we call extra hours. So think about this in terms of maybe a holdover at the end of a shift, maybe somebody's on a call that ran them late, and they need some kind of mechanism to report that back to you so that your schedule then reflects that extra time. The system can allow your members to put in a request for those to put in front of your eyes and have you approve or deny to update your schedule. We can do things like indicate a time type, or what we would see commonly listed as a pay code in some other softwares, identified here. In this case, perhaps it was overtime due to a holdover. They can even leave you notes. So if they need to let you know what call number or what rationale went with that extra hours request, you're going to be able to view those items and then approve or deny them right from this screen. Things like trades are going to populate here. So Aladtec is going to allow your members some options as far as trades go. So we can process what we call a traditional giveaway, where you're completely giving up a shift to another member. Sometimes that's used loosely as the IOU one down the line type of trade. Or we can do swaps that are going to be a one-for-one trade. The beauty here, the logistical back and forth is on your members' plates. They figure things out between each other, and then it only comes to an admin when it is required for approval, when everything's good to go. So in this particular scenario, we can see that Seth Brock put in a request yesterday, and that he's trying to give up his shift on the 10th and do a swap with Joe Burns. They're working the same day, they're just working different times, so they're trying to swap shifts here. So if we're okay with this, we're going to have the opportunity to approve this. The system's going to take into consideration things like who's qualified to work where, what schedules can they work on, what positions can they fill, and we'll get into that here a little bit later. But the system is going to have some smart intellect in the background that's going to make sure that things like trades are going to the right people with the right qualifications, and that members are following the rules that you define. So maybe those trades have to be repaid within the same pay period. You're going to have the opportunity to build out some rules like that in the system. We do have the capability of processing signups. So Aladtec will allow your members to click on actual open shifts and sign up for any vacancy on your calendar. It's going to allow you to also page those out, which will trigger people to come sign up for shifts. So that can be directly tied to an open schedule or position on a given day. You will be able to identify if we need to maybe change some time codes here or some time types. You'll also see if you have multiple signups. So if we want to look at who else signed up for the same shift, we can. And then finally, vacation requests or time off requests, whether it be sick leave, personal leave, vacation, use of comp time. You're going to be able to define what types of time off exist in your system. And then they will actually be able to come through as requests for different types of time off. You'll be able to see what bank of time people are requesting time off from. And if you do use accruals inside of Aladtec, we can calculate what's in somebody's bank, the cost of the current request, and what the actual end impact of this request is going to do to that bank. So we've got some good tools there to help with some of those sorts of items and good transparency for supervisors and staff as they're requesting these. Now, this is all some handy information. It's all great to have this in a nice centralized area, but this is also going to be visible in other places as well. So whatever workflow makes sense to you, you can process these from calendars, you can process them from the mobile app or this dashboard. You're going to have options no matter where you're at to process this type of stuff in a very comfortable way. If you are a scheduler who happens to be existing on a schedule in the system, you will see your own upcoming shifts and all of the same information regarding yourself that a member would see. The other addition for those that have that higher access level is going to be that information expiration area. So Aladtec has the ability to not only tell you when certain things have expired, but when they're expiring soon. So think about this in terms of certifications, licenses. I've seen some departments use this to track interdepartmental training that happens on a recurring basis. I've even seen some use this for immunization status, so it can kind of pivot to suit a lot of different needs. But essentially, the system will tell you that, hey, these people have expired licenses or certifications. We're going to need to do something about that. It'll also give you a prior notification warning. These items are expiring soon. And each individual field is going to give you the option to set that prior notification window. Maybe something that you just need to, maybe re-up your driver's license. You only want to know about it 2-3 weeks ahead of time to get down to the DMV. You can have a field set to that time frame. Whereas something that might need continuing ed, maybe you want 6 months ahead of time to know about that. You're going to have the option to set that so that you get the adequate amount of time to take action on those items before they expire. This is going to be able to trigger notifications to supervisors as well as the member involved so that everyone's in the loop with the status of these items. It's also going to give you the ability to impair if that person can be scheduled. So if there is a no-go, we don't want officers out on patrol with expired driver's licenses or things like that, you can actually tell the system field by field if this item expiring should impact someone's ability to be scheduled. So kind of moving forward, there are several other options in the system in terms of what we call messaging. We've got internal and external messaging capabilities. I do like to draw attention to this one particular option that is under our homepage. This is really great in terms of maybe new policies coming out or new protocols that people need to be aware of. You have the option to use what we call our required messaging tool to send messages to your staff. And it's going to give you some unique functionality here. So for example, we could send this out by work group. Maybe it just needs to go to dispatch or maybe just your part-time patrol people. Or we can go by access level or individual. If we want to go ahead and pick on Frankie Barber, since he's the top of our list here, we can send this message out to just one person if we need to. And it's going to give you a date and time stamp for when it was sent, what the message and the subject line were, and a list of anybody it went to. The unique part about this functionality is the next time Frankie comes into the system, he is stuck. He cannot navigate past this message anywhere in the system until he reads and acknowledges this message. Once he does that, it's business as usual. Nothing is going to be impacted from him. Everything has gone back to normal. But as an administrator, you now have a read receipt with an exact date and timestamp of when he acknowledged that message. So this can be a really great accountability tool for any major changes when you need to guarantee that something got in front of people's eyes. Looking over at our member database, this is going to be the repository that houses all of your member information. So this is something that we can help you import upon custom build so that you don't have to populate this person by person. But this is a fully customizable area of the system. There is a configurator out here that's going to allow you to basically build your member database profiles. We can do things like click and rename fields, delete fields we don't need, and this whole thing is actually drag and drop. So you can customize and change the layout of areas in this page, adding new sections or using your toolbox over here to pull in new types of fields. Whatever information you want to house inside your member profiles, you're going to have the flexibility to do that. I do like to draw attention to those date expiration fields. Those are solid gold as far as helping you keep track of things like certifications and licenses. If we look at the settings inside of any of these, you're going to see that option to set that prior notification window. You're also going to see the different options for how the system should respond when this person is getting scheduled with expired certificates or licensure. So maybe it's ignore, maybe you want to get a warning, all the way up to do not allow this to happen. You're going to have the ability to flex that to work in your favor. I do also like to draw attention to the fact that you can add attachment fields here. So maybe you don't want to just have driver's license numbers and expiration dates. Maybe you want your members to upload a photo of their license itself. You can add attachment points directly into member database fields and house some of that information directly in your member profiles. Now the database itself is pretty straightforward. This is going to be basically a grid style view of whatever's housed inside the member profiles. You're going to be able to edit these items by simply hovering over fields and clicking edit. And you can change what you're looking at. You've got some preset filter options, whether it be maybe looking at certificates or doing things like looking at basic account level information. You can customize what you're looking at. There is also an edit feature over here that's going to let you pull in additional fields to the current view that you're on. So perhaps this view got you close, but you really wanted to see people's titles pulled in and maybe in a badge number or an ID number. You can adjust this, even adding member filters. Maybe you want to look at a certain subgroup of people. Maybe we only want to look at, full-time staff. You can make adjustments to this view however you see fit. And as you go ahead and adjust that, you're going to see those extra columns populate in. This is all exportable and printable. So if you guys ever need this information, it is available to you at the drop of a hat. We can even do things like essentially pull a report on certifications and export it. You can see all of the information for any certifications or licenses tracked in here. You're going to have easy management of your members in this area. So not only can we hover over these fields and make adjustments or go into a profile and adjust, you do have batch editing capabilities on any column that has this batch edit icon. So you can make changes to multiple people at one time without having to do it field by field. You're going to have the flexibility to add your own members into the system. We can also batch import those for you if you go through a big hiring. And you will have the ability to inactivate your own people. So somebody leaves the service, we can set them to inactive and still maintain their historical data. You don't have to recreate the wheel if they leave and come back. You can always reset their profile back to active again. And then the second of messaging tools here is the ability to send email or text message directly out of your member database. So you can select some people on the left-hand side here and then decide how you want to send them a message. This is a great general communication tool that's out there that's going to let you compose messages to your people and send them in bulk. Inside the profiles themselves, you're going to start to see some items being assigned to people. So everybody's going to have an access level in a work group. They're going to potentially be a part of a pay period and a pay profile. And these are admin level controls that gray out at the member level. We are going to house messaging information. So if you want to get text message notifications, we're going to need that info. We're also going to keep emails. This is going to be for getting you access to Aladtec for the very first time, as well as notifications and the ability of your own members to reset their passwords. So if they lock themselves out, if they forget their password, they do have the option to do a forgot password based off their email. Everyone's going to get notification preferences. We can do things like have the system automatically trigger notifications when you process member requests. So somebody signs up for that shift and you grant it, they can receive an email, a text message, or both, letting them know if they got that shift or not, or if their time off was approved, or if that trade was approved. At an admin level, you guys get to control coverage alerts and member expiration data. So members are going to see these options gray out and not allow them to change them. They can even elect to include themselves in an upcoming shift reminder. So 24 hours before your next scheduled shift, the system will automatically send you a message reminding you of that shift. Finally, those of you that have scheduling authority, you're going to have the ability to set notification preferences about the people you schedule. So for example, if you are over patrol and you want to get a text message whenever somebody signs up for a shift, you're going to have the ability to set preferences about those items if you want to respond to those things faster. Some people are going to love this. Some people necessarily don't want those external notifications, but the tool is here for you to help process those things a little quicker. Everyone's going to have work qualifications. Everybody in Aladtec is going to be qualified for schedules and positions. And any combination of the two is what's going to allow people to be placed on schedules in differing positions. So maybe, for example, if they're an officer, but they can also backfill over to dispatch, we're going to want to make sure that they're qualified for both. These qualifications are a major powerhouse for you guys. It's going to control where they can be scheduled. It's going to control who shows up as possibilities for sending out coverage alerts when you need to page out open shifts. And it's also going to drive who members see as options when they're trying to request a trade with someone. They're only going to see people that are qualified appropriately to take the shifts and schedules that they're giving up for the day. We do have the ability to process time off accruals in the system. You can go ahead and set up profiles to drop time automatically into banks, whether that be something that is, done annually or on an anniversary date or once a month or even by hours worked. You can set up profiles to deposit that time into people's banks. You'll then see those balances accrue over here. You can always make manual adjustments. So in the case of those comp time situations where somebody elects maybe comp time instead of overtime pay, you can simply go ahead and add that amount of time in. You can even leave a note. When your members then take time off, that time will deduct from that bank. They will also be able to see their balances when they're requesting time off in the system. And then finally here, everything else is customizable. So whatever you want to see populated in this area, you're going to have the ability to do that. You will have the option to decide how much of the profile the members are going to be able to make changes to, whether it be just your typical standard fields up top here, or if you want them to have access to adjust all of this information as well. Hopping over to the schedule here from your member database, kind of continuing along the tour here. we're going to be hopping into what we call the monthly calendar view. So this is one of the many views available to you inside of Aladtec. There are several different views available depending upon what layout you prefer and what duration of time you want to see. So by default, we're looking at a monthly calendar view. You also have the option of things like a daily summary view. That's going to give you just a singular day, and it's going to give you more of a horizontal layout. My spreadsheet people tend to really appreciate this view. There's also things like weekly shifts view. That's going to give you different breakdowns and different ways to view your schedule. Now, no matter where you are inside of Aladtec, anytime you see filter and edit, you have the ability to adjust what you're looking at. You also always have the option to save custom filters for yourself and even share them with other people if preferred. You can always go into edit and adjust which schedules are currently viewing. So we could click some of these off and on to update what we're looking at. And you're going to have the ability to decide if you want to, isolate some of these other items out of here. So pending requests from people or approved requests, or if you want to see open shifts, you've got kind of a wealth of options available to you here. At any point, you can perform a save as and give whatever view you've come up with a filter name. You can even share it with other people who have the same or similar access as you. In this view of the schedule itself, you're going to start to see some icons that are going to be a common theme across the system. Anytime we see an R in Aladtec, that is indicative of what we call repeats and rotations. So the system has pattern-based scheduling. Anything that recurs, you will have the ability to put into a rotation and have that schedule built for up to 2 years at a time. So if we were to look at our repeats and rotations tool, you're going to see here, for example, that we can pick a person, pick schedule, and pick spot. And the system will allow you to build custom rotations in several different ways. Whether it be, somebody working maybe, a Monday through Friday, or they're working a 2-week rotation where they work a pattern across 2 weeks. You can even do some preset ones. So the very common law enforcement 4 on 2 off shift. The system can handle all kinds of different rotations and will allow you to run those for up to 2 years at a time. You'll always be able to see what schedule people are on and what patterns exist. And you'll have the opportunity to modify those. So maybe we need to end a shift early so that they can switch over to a new rotation. Those sorts of changes happen in a very efficient way inside of Aladtec. And the beauty of that is if everybody's on a rotation or a pattern, the entire base of your schedule is built out. And the only thing left for you to do is deal with day-to-day occurrences. Looking at some of these other icons on your schedule, we like to draw attention to this little exclamation point guy here. This is an indicator of a minimum staffing violation. So at any point, the system is going to allow you to define a minimum number of people that need to be on a given schedule at a given time. You can also add ancillary requirements to that. So for example, if you have to have 3 people to be fully staffed and one of them needs to have XYZ certification, we can add another tier to this to make sure that we're getting not only the right quantity of people, but the right people themselves onto your schedule. In this particular case, the system's telling us, hey, between 14 and 2200, you only have 2 of the 3 people you said you need. So it's drawing attention to that shortcoming in that opening to make sure that you see this so you can take whatever action is appropriate. We are going to see all of those pending items out here. You are going to have the ability to go ahead and process those items here. Things like those trades, the action of approval is actually going to move people. So we can see here that Joe and Seth swapped spots. They're always going to have indicators. There's always going to be transparency as to who's working where, who initiated the trade, even down to who approved it. Anytime we see purple on a schedule, that is indicative of an open shift in Aladtec. And anytime we have an open shift, we have the ability to page and send out coverage alerts. So we can look at this and say, for example, I need to page out this officer position. and the system already knows who's qualified and who's actually available, or we can change it up and go by work group or maybe specific individuals. And the system will send external notifications to people saying, hey, the department has an opening this date and time. Please navigate to your My Schedule page and sign up for that shift. When those signups do come in, that's what's going to result right here. You're going to have the ability to see those items. And if we go ahead and look inside what we call the hourly editor, we're going to see day-to-day, where the day-to-day changes on this schedule happen. So we have kind of two sections to the screen to be aware of. The top part is the 24-hour representation of your schedule. The lower half of the screen is your available members. And this is driven by which position is identified. If we look at an officer or sergeant position, you're going to see sergeants that this list of people updates to only the people that are qualified here. If we click on officer, you're going to see those populate again. The system can handle different options here. So for example, you can submit availability in the system, whether people are available, unavailable, shifts they prefer to work. It's a passive communication tool. This whole thing is drag and drop. So for example, if we wanted to take Abel, who had indicated he was available to work this time, you can just drag him up onto the schedule and let him go, and he'll populate into that spot. In this case, we do have a couple of signups available, and we can look at some ancillary items here to help us decide who should get that sign up. Maybe we're going by seniority, in which case Leon is our lucky winner for the day. We've got these guys' hire dates available to us here. If we go ahead and approve Leon for that shift, you're going to see that he populated to the schedule and that other sign up disappeared. So that active approval actually updates your schedule and notifies everybody involved if they were approved or denied for that shift in those 2 easy clicks. We can open up time or move what we call block time, which closes off the hours we're not using. And as I mentioned, this whole thing is drag and drop. So we can add people to the schedule, if we can adjust their shift times as needed. You can go ahead and do things like put people on time off from here. So if somebody calls in sick and we need to get them off of the schedule, we can certainly do that on behalf of a member. And the moment we have an open shift, you can go ahead and page that out from this area as well. You can even add those time type labels from this spot. So if we need to identify something as overtime, this person's covering because somebody called out for the day, you can add those labels in this view as well. If we need to move some people between schedules, you've got the option to do that as well. You can use that trusty filter and edit feature to pull in another schedule next to this one. And as long as people are qualified for both spots, you can simply drag and drop people between schedules to populate them and shift staff as needed. Members are going to have a very easy go of it here. Typically speaking, our members hop in here and they're off and running, and it just makes sense. So if we look at this from the perspective of a member, they're going to have the ability to do things like see their own schedule, go ahead and view different items here. They've got some toggle controls. They can sync this over to personal home calendars as well. But things like those time off and trades are going to be a simple matter of clicking on their scheduled time and following through the process there. Now they're ultimately going to live in the mobile view here. So if I flip over into this view, you're going to see what this looks like on more of a cell phone style view. You're going to have summary pages, some actionable areas like taking trades or picking up shifts for people, and summaries of information here for upcoming time off, things like that. But members are going to still be able to go ahead and do things like take action on their own schedule from the mobile view, taking some time off, requesting a trade. They can do things like turn on those open shifts. And if you have open vacant shifts, they can click on those and even sign up for them from their cell phone. We can have them do things like fill out digital forms inside of the system. So if we're looking at maybe work order vehicle reports, they can take care of this while they're in a bay or a garage right on their phone. And if you're a supervisor, you're going to have all of the same functionality that your members do, plus an additional admin tasks section that's going to put those pending requests in a place where you can process them right from your cell phone. So we can do things like approve or deny those member requests right from your phone. If I hop back into full site here, we do have a forms tool out here. This has been out here with Aladtec for a number of years. If you've looked at this in the past, one of the new things you may not have seen is the library. We've got over 200 different pre-built forms that have come from our other customers. So everything from apparatus and vehicle checklists to health screening forms, even things like timesheets are available out here, and they're all fully customizable. So you can take something where someone else started the work, and you can come through and make edits and adjust this just as you would our member database configurator. You've got those toolboxes and the ability to customize these forms. There is independent settings for each of these, so you have complete control form by form over who can fill them out, who can adjust someone's submission, as well as set up notifications for when one of these is submitted. Also, when certain fields are answered certain ways. So think about that in terms of things being broken or out of stock or in need of maintenance. Certain field answers can trigger notifications to people as well. You do have several pre-built report options out here. Each one of these forms will have a corresponding report that'll let you pull any of these data points into a singular report that you can export. But there's also some other great reports out here for things like viewing everybody on your schedule. Maybe we want to isolate some times that people were on overtime. We can isolate time types, hours associated with certain schedules, certain positions. You're going to have a lot of flexibility here to get to your information in a nice, clean way. We do have a payroll report out here. So this is intended for export for use elsewhere, but it'll give you summaries of scheduled time or even time clock time. We do have a web-based time clock that you can utilize alongside Aladtec as well. And you can customize this to an extent and export or print this for use in another payroll product. You do have a system log out here, so every action is recorded with the date and time stamp. Complete transparency over everything that happens in this system. Every deletion, adjustment, coverage alert, everything can be backtraced. And you've got, again, that filter and edit feature allows you to do things like look at actions taken by a certain person or actions that impacted a specific person. So if we know where we're generally looking, you've got a great way to narrow that view down. And as with any of these reports, you will have the opportunity to run these for whatever time frame you need to. We do have a storage area available to you guys out here. So there is 200 gigabytes of storage space. This is something that can be restricted via access level. So we can have folders that only supervisors can have access to, but this is a really great place to store information off of an internal network to allow your members to be able to get to this information when they're on the go. There is a discussion section out here where you can post topics and have thread style conversations regarding information happening in your department. And finally, there's a ton of information in our videos or help section here. We do have videos and tech tips on pretty much everything you could ever want to do in this system. So the degree of support available to you at any point is incredibly high. I do want to draw attention to our fantastic support team. Currently, we are running support Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central with after hours paging. We are working towards the true 24/7 model, hopefully within the year. But you do have access to support during trial and as a customer via our email, our toll-free number, and there is website-based chat during business hours. So it does not matter if it's a member having login issues or an administrator looking to wipe out a schedule. These are highly trained people. They are all support specialists that are TCP Aladtec employees, so this is not outsourced support. They are absolutely fantastic and a great resource available to you guys. So that kind of takes us through our high level review of the system. As I mentioned, you can certainly feel free to navigate to the Aladtec website, and you can sign up for things like a free demo that's generic, or you can work with someone like myself and we can set you up with a complete custom system that a solutions consultant like myself can walk you guys through.
All right, I can take it from here then, Kelsey, if you got anything else.
Perfect. Nope, that should be it.
Okay, I'll pass it over to me. And I actually just want to finish up with basically just thanking everybody for attending. Kelsey did a great job, and I took care of the questions on my end, so I think we're good there. Um, so if you guys do have any questions, like Kelsey said, please give us a call, talk to our account execs, and they can get you started, or you can go right to the website and download the free trial as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Don't be afraid to contact us with any questions. And thanks again, and have a great day.